everyone, I'm Cindy. I'm an intern here at the Rochester Hills Public Library, and I'm going to show you how to make a loom out of a piece of cardboard. So in your kit, you'll be getting a 6x9 piece of cardboard, a napkin, a plastic fork and a plastic knife, some yarn, and a yarn needle. And it will help to have some scissors at home. So to start off, you're going to have a 6x9 piece of cardboard, and what you'll want to do is find a ruler and just make marks every centimeter or so. So I already have my marks here, and then I'm going to cut them. You don't want to go too deep, but not too, maybe about a centimeter down. Nothing has to be exact here. Right. And I do find that since the yarn is a little thicker, if you go through give it a second sort of triangular cut, that helps the yarn stick in a little better. I don't know if you want to fill the hole. That'll be good for now. All right, and then the first thing you're going to do after you get your notches cut is you're going to set up the warp of the loom, and that means the vertical threads that you weave onto. So to start that off, you're going to take one of your yarns and start a slip knot. So you put your fingers in like that, sort of loop it around, and then grab the longer edge and pull tight. And then you can loosen it and tighten it from that long edge. So to start setting up your warp, you're going to want to loosen that slip knot and put it right on your top. I like starting in the top left corner. You put the knot in the back just to keep it out of the way. Then you're going to just go up and down. And except for this first one, what you're going to do is each notch will get yarn in it twice. So we're going to be doubling up there. This is where those notches do come in handy. You can keep it tight as you go, or you can tighten at the end because you're going to want it to be, you don't want to have loose yarn. And sometimes your yarn will tangle, and that's half the fun. So I'm keeping going with this. As I said, get in the yarn through each slot twice. Almost to the end. And so the first slot that you go into and one of the last ones, there's only going to be one. And so we're at the end here. Everything seems pretty tight. All you can do is just latch that around. Sort of just tie a knot however you can get one. You can do another slip knot. You can do just a regular old knot, which is what I'm going to do back here. And you have that tightened up. And then you're going to take your napkin and you're going to put that through the bottom, weave that through the bottom of your loom. So weaving means over, under, over, under. Or under, over, depending on which way you're going. Sometimes. So what the napkin's going to do here is going to give you a flat surface to weave onto, so you're not weaving into the bumpy start of the loom. So you can have a nice flat edge and also have enough yarn to tie off at the end. All right. right to the bottom there, and we have a nice flat surface. All right, so the next step is you're going to take your knife and you're going to weave that through the top of your loom. And again, it doesn't really matter which way you choose to do it to start. It's just over, under, over, under. All right. And so then what this is going to do is when you turn it up like that, it's going to create a triangle, and that's called a shed. And that's going to be where you can put your yarn right through without having to weave it yourself. But since we only have it going one way, you will have to weave through the other way. And that's what's next, is the weaving. So you're going to want to take a bit of yarn, not too much, because you're going to have to pull it through on the needle. So we're going to go in little bunches. Put it on your needle. And this is where it's going to start mattering which way you start your thread. So if you see here, I like starting on the left with my weaving. So if you see here, this first yarn is over the napkin. So that means we're going to need that one to be under our needle to start. So we're starting an opposite weave to what the napkin is. Over, under, over, under. You want to pull it through, and you're going to want it to be at a sort of arch to start. And it's where you take your fork, and you just use that to press your yarn down, and start with the lower side that you started at and work your way over to the higher angled side. And that will help make sure that you're not pulling it too tight when you start doing the other rows. So now we can do the fun part with the shed here. You can just drop your needle all the way through, and there we go. That side was so much easier. And then it's going to be the same thing. You have your little arch. Just press that down. And then you just keep following that pattern. So you don't want to pull too tight so that it starts to bow in. All right, so you just keep doing that over, under, until it's the size you want it. This is one that I've already started. I'm going to show you how to finish it off. We can take our knife out. We can take our napkin out. And then you're going to want to just pop your warp off. So for this, you can close it off a number of ways. You can not cut them and just tie them into knots around the edge. Tie two together, two of the loops together, and just make a little knot. You can cut the loops and just tie the loops together. It's whatever you like the look of. So I'm going to just tie all these loops together and then trim them off. Alright, so I've double knotted all of the warp threads together on both sides, and I'm just going to trim those off so it's not so much dangling. This is totally customizable too. If you want your weaving to be a little flatter, you can sew the edges with the sewing machine to bond it that way. You can trim those up based on your needs. Some people might like to have a little bit of frill, maybe not. And then we just have to deal with all these ends hanging off here. So you're going to want to take your yarn needle, thread that up. You're just going to weave it into your weaving. There's no real right or wrong way to do it, just wherever you can get it in. That will make sure that your weaving doesn't come apart, but also that you don't have little bits hanging out. If you want extra security, you can go one way and then do the other. That one doesn't want to be rethreaded though, so I think that one's just done. So you can weave it in, or you can whip it around the sides as a whip stitch. Back the other way. And then after weaving those ends in, you can trim off the extra. And there you have a little weaving, and you can use these in any number of ways. You can use them to make like elbow patches or clothing patches. I recommend having about 1 inch extra fabric, bigger than what your hole is. You can use it as a cup holder. You can make a bunch of little squares and sew them together, make a scarf, a jacket, anything really. And you can make bigger loom. The world is your oyster with this. I hope you had fun and happy weaving.